And welcome back to Sullivan's Backstage Pass. I'm here with Carly. Carly, I can't thank you enough for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So I have to tell you, right? So I listened to your new album and you had me at that first note on that first song. There is just something about your transition from this like deep gravel, like sort of like in the background to these smooth runs and notes that I just simply adore. It's like you have like a voice that is unlike anyone else I've ever heard. How did you get started in the singing area to begin with?
One, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It feels good to feel seen and understood and heard and received. So both of my parents are musicians or were musicians. I'll say my dad was a funk bassist and my mom was a jazz singer. She also did a lot of theater and sang some gospel as well. So I was always exposed to like a very, very eclectic like variety of music. Though I had decided I was not going to do funk or blues or jazz. So that's what my parents did. But when I got to college, I was, doing singer-songwriter stuff and I was songwriting starting in high school. And I kind of had a career in like the classical choir arena through from 9 years old through college. I was like in all of the choirs you could be in: concert choir, chamber choir, all state choir, what's a madrigal, women's, all of the things. So about 4 to 5 choirs each year. And in college, I joined an a cappella group called TNA, which stands for the Nightingale A Cappella. And I sang a Bonnie Raitt song, and a friend of mine came to me and said, um, hey, you should try singing blues. And I was like, no, thanks. That's cool. I'm good. I'm like, listen to this Carole King song that I taught myself on piano, or listen to me play this Fleetwood Mac song on guitar. And he was like, yeah, 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 that's cool. I really think you should try blues. And I was like, no. And then he convinced me through Susan Tedeschi. She was young and she was like modernizing it, but honoring its roots. And it actually inspired me to get back into to study the music that I love, that I grew up listening to. If I wasn't listening with an open mind instead of like being closed minded, because it's my parents, and I rediscovered myself, I rediscovered my heritage, and I rediscovered a lot of music I loved. Like I love Nina Simone, I love Etta James. I grew up listening to Coco Taylor, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Holiday, and Santana. And Tito Puente and Celia Cruz and Selena and or Selena, they say. But yeah, so I had all these like varieties of things contributing to the artist I was becoming, but it was going to be rooted in blues. And so here we are.
So as you sort of progress along this musical journey, because you started talking about being like 9 when you started in the choir circuit, did
Mhm.
you know early on that you had the capabilities of range and tone? Or was that something that you kind of like along the way figured out like, "Ooh, I got something here."
Yeah, I kind of figured it out. So I started out playing violin when I was 7 and I quit by the time I was 9. And when I was 9, that's when I started teaching myself songs on piano. So I was completely learned by ear. And I was like, well, if I want to learn to play this song, I have to know how to sing it. And so I was using my ear. I had to match the pitches. But I was always very shy. I was so shy to sing. So I knew there was something inside, but I wasn't ready to share it with people yet. But of course, you can sing Happy Birthday or Twinkle Twinkle and audition for a choir. They want to know, can you hold a tune and what your range is? And I just thought it didn't mean anything special that I was let into these choirs you audition for. But then I met people who didn't get in the choir, and I was like, you didn't? So I was like, yeah, everybody can do what I did. And then, so I want to say around like middle school is when I realized, like, you have to have something special in order to be granted access to do these things. And so I started practicing diligently and exploring my range, especially when my parents would go out of town. Like if they would like, we're going to the grocery store, I'd be like, great, stay away. And that was when I had the house to myself and I would like belts and like just see how powerfully I could sing and how high I could sing in my chest voice and how high I could sing in my head voice and how low I could sing in my chest voice. And I had this very nosy sister who would like she would crack my door open and watch me, which I hated, but that was my opportunity to explore my voice. And so I want to say by the time I was in middle school, I recognized that there was something there and I loved it and it felt good to do it and it felt like medicine. So I started writing songs and around that time as well.
So one of the questions that I love asking artists that come on the podcast is just about that, right? Because I really do believe the muse is a living, breathing thing. And you never know when she's going to come visit you. So when the muse visits you, like, how do you capture that? Do you like have a recording device? Do you write, like, how do you capture the idea when it comes to you?
Well, so when I was in middle school, my dad got me this cute little keyboard. It was only about this big and it had a cassette tape recorder. And it also had all these like beats that you could make. So like I was like, I had the original looping machine because I would record myself singing something. And then once you record it, you can play it back. So then I would harmonize with myself. And so I had a different tape recorder and I would record both harmonies at the same time. And then I would play that and then sing a third harmony. So I was really like playing, I was looping sounds and making beats. And so I had recordings of my songs and I could remember them in that way because I had access to that. So I'm so grateful to my dad and my uncle who got me my first keyboards. Ugh. And it was a really beautiful time to explore, but of course you have those moments when maybe it's a ballad and it doesn't need anything exciting on it or it doesn't need harmonies and you write down the lyrics and the next morning you wake up and you don't remember that melody and you're like, oh god. So I learned a lot of lessons like, no, I have to record it, I must. And so now I use my voice memos on my phone. In fact, I'm here on a writing trip, so I have about 9 songs that are not quite complete yet, but I have multiple verses, I have bridges, and they're all in my voice memo. So I'm gonna, kind of edit them and complete them and finish writing for my next album using my voice memos. Because you got to capture the moment, whether you're in the car or if like, oh, that's a good melody. So I'll jump out of the shower and I get to my voice memos. I'm not going to forget.
Because there'll be times where if you don't capture it in the moment and it's gone. And it's just one of those fascinating things in life. But I do. That sort of brings me a question on the last album that you released, because one of the things that I really appreciated about it was how you layered the lyrics. Now, was are those mostly you along with other people, or with the layered lyrics, is it like a whole cadre of musicians that are behind you? Because it's flawless harmonies.
There are like a couple of backing vocalists, but as far as like the lyrics, that's all me that I wrote. And yeah, 100% wrote the entire album and I co produced it. And I had a great producer with me. Mark Williams is amazing. He really understood my vision and he understood how to work with me because I was very like, I want the horns to do this. Like, so I was Michael Jacksoning with the horns. I did have a great arranger. His name is Danny Davis, but he came in with some stuff and I was like, yeah, yeah, that's cool. You know what I would like better? You do this. And he could go, and they would like, so I was like vocally expressing what I wanted and, we worked through the rhythms and they picked it up so well, especially on the native music. As far as the harmonies, I definitely instructed the backing vocalist like which harmonies to do.
And I really appreciate that aspect of it too, right? As somebody who is half native myself, I really appreciate the homage to the native roots that are along the way with the blues. It was very well crafted. I really appreciate it. So, one
Thank
of the questions that I also have in terms of like your live performances, what do you love about being on stage? Like, what is it that gets you up and gets you going in front of a crowd?
it's energy and connection. I think we live in a world we're so isolated and disconnected. And I'm at the point in my life where I know that I'm fulfilling my purpose. Sound is medicine, and stories are medicine. Stories people can resonate with, or sometimes you evolve and that's not your story anymore. But when you sing it and you tell the story, somebody says, "This saved me. I needed to know I wasn't alone." So not only is it my medicine just to like process and get out my feelings, but I know that it's healing for someone else, both in receiving and in its sound. And so when there are some days, because I hustle, I'm a hustler, like I'm like working all the time and touring and so many things, and I rarely have time for me, just for myself, which is why my management team had to force me to do a writing trip. They're like, you're going to sit and you're going to finish these songs. Take the time. But I think, there are days when you're tired and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this gig. I'm so exhausted. And then I get on stage and the people are so open and ready to receive and willing, and then it's this like beautiful reciprocal. I give medicine, they give me energy to do it, and so something revs me up and I just feel so good. And performing is, I don't know, for me it's not entertainment. If someone's entertained, great, because I do have really funny side comments and stories to tell, but it's an experience, and it's an experience for me as well as for the audience. And I love that opportunity to connect, to elevate, to heal.
And it's one of those connections that I think is, from my perspective, is almost like a modern day miracle, right? Because you have this group of people on stage that all have a different walk in life, different life experience, but for 3 minutes and some odd seconds, you're all in unison, communicating to the audience as one without saying an additional word. Outside of humans, that just doesn't exist. So I also am curious from an artist's perspective, as you're up there singing and you're sort of giving your all, what are some of the things that you're looking for from the audience that lets you know that they're enjoying with the time that they're having with you?
Stank faces.
Say more, please.
So I've got a friend, Danra. I hope she's gonna watch this. So hey, Danra. So yeah, she has the most like intense, serious stank face. And if she doesn't give you stank face, then that means this isn't great. So the first day we met, I was on tour up in New England and we did a house party. And I got up to sing, and Danner was like, like it's like the way you like take it in. Musicians use a stank face when they're performing, like, like we get those like expressive spaces, right? If another person is receiving you and it gives them the stank, then I know I've done my job.
I love everything about that.
Yeah, like that. And it's like, oh, they're into this. Or some people close their eyes and smile and receive it this way. And I'm such an energy feeler. So I'm also feeling people's energy, even if they don't emote it. Because if you go on tour in Europe, you will notice these people many of them have stoic faces. They are loving it. They love it. They enjoy it. But I was just in France on tour with Selwyn Birchwood, and he was like, I can't tell if they like what I'm doing. And I'm like, they love it, man. Because when it's time for the encore, they're like, oh, 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 they want us to come out. But when they're watching you, they're like this. And you're like, do you like, do you? But you
I
just
love everything about that.
give and give. And I like, when I get off stage, they were like, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing, and I understand your Native American contributions, and it's beautiful." Like, they get it, and they understood, and they were listening, and it's a great feeling.
And one of the things too that I love about that interaction, because I lived in Germany for 2 years, and I know exactly what you're talking about because, like, I had to adjust as a fan because of the weird looks that I would get as somebody in the audience, like, "What are you doing, kind sir?" And I'm like, "Okay."
Do
So
you
it
give the same face too? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cause like, it's some music, you just feels you, you know? Like, when you hear it the first time and the hair stands up in the back of your neck and you just hear that combination of, like, something that is, because, like, I honor the fact that you have that narrative connection, because when you hear it in song and you get recognized that there's something out there in the blues that touches to your community and that it reminds you of the stories of old. It reminds you of the powwows and the activities of your culture and your nature. And so when you hear that in form and music, and it's like, oh, that connection, and it's so awesome that that is being represented
Yeah.
in the blues scene today.
I'm a huge advocate for it. I so much so that I do lectures. I teach lectures on the origin of blues and the Native American, the sacred overlap of the two cultures at that origin. And so I want to include it in my music. And there are so many Native blues artists that are fantastic. Lakota John, Huda Faye. She does have Ulali, which does more like traditional sounding women's music, but then she also is her own like blues artist herself. There's Martha Redbone, who is like rock blues fusion. I mean, Crystal Shawanda. I mean, she is so good. And I'm like, yeah, Native people are doing blues. Jimi Hendrix was also Afro-Indigenous. And, his sound was so influenced by blues. It was unmistakable, even though he kind of did his own thing and it was definitely rock, but like blues was at the root. And I want, especially Black and Native people, to know that their culture, their heritage contributes to globally loved music. You from Korea to Croatia, people love blues and they relate to it. And this is our origin story. This music is our origin story. And we live in a world where our contributions get overlooked. No one, like, you know, who was the first Native American woman pilot? Who can we say? It doesn't come to mind right off the top of your head. And in fact, I actually forgot her name because I'll take accountability there. But I got a stamp. I went to the post office and I got a stamp, and it showed this picture of an Afro-Indigenous woman, and she was like the first female Black native female pilot. And I was like, what? And I had no idea who she was. And so, as part of fulfilling my purpose, I'm not only infusing my heritage into my blues and into my music as an experience, but I'm also lecturing and providing education because, one, understanding it helped me love myself. When you see yourself and like something great that your heritage contributed to that everybody loves, you feel so good about yourself and it feels like you can do anything. And so sorry, I get emotional about it. I want everybody to know that, and blues is the root of all American contemporary music. So, like, look at that. Like, I want everybody to know and love it and feel it and receive it, but especially our community. We've got a lot of high suicide rates on reservations, and I want those kids to know, like, your culture, without your culture, this music that everybody loves, that everybody's trying to claim, wouldn't exist. Your culture helped create field hollers and spirituals because Africans weren't allowed to make polyrhythmic music or anything that sounded African. Your culture, your music, your ceremony that they had proximity to allowed them to create coded songs and escape. And then if that music evolved into blues, that is something. That is something so special. It's alchemy.
And I love everything about that, like, so many times we get caught in this trap of focusing on the sordid past, and we focus on the negative, that we don't allow space to focus on the heroes of a culture. and how we should really embrace the people that are the forefront of positivity and kindness instead of pushing forth the narrative of the dominant culture that is, ruled in capitalistic. And anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
We're staying positive, but yes, in
Yes.
positive, love yourself, love your hair, love your culture. That's where I'm at.
And we have to support that, like it's one of those things like I love that you're doing that. So like getting back to the music though, because I could talk about this for hours because I love everything that you're doing in terms from an artist perspective, right? Because like there's this, all right, it kind of got me off track for a second. From an artist's perspective, if we're thinking about a venue, what is it that venues could do to make a musician's performance a little bit better?
Ooh, hospitality really goes a long way. It really does. Like if you give me a dingy green room, then I think that you don't really care about me. You don't care about the performance I give. You just want butts and seats. And some people, that is how they're operating. And that makes me feel exploited. That makes me feel like a machine. Some people, of course, can't afford it or like, but even the small, I've seen tiny, tiny little green rooms that people have like put up great art in and painted it a fun color and, something like that. But yeah, I mean, my tech writer is a little interesting. I'm like, I would like a charcuterie board, but also healthy snacks. So I want carrot sticks and celery. And I also want rosé that's sparkling and Maker's Mark with and chocolate cherry cashew kind bars. So I know it's not ridiculous. It's not like green ants, right? But if I see that they read the tech writer and they even provide just a little bit of that, I'm like, wow, they cared that I feel comfortable. I can feel grounded. I can feel respected. And therefore, I'm going to give a great performance and the respect is going to be reciprocal. So for me, that's one of the things. And I think the other thing is when the venue cares about their sound and the environment of their sound. You've been to some places where like the sound just is deadened. And again, this is like put butts in seats, sell the tickets. But some people, because of the shape of the room and there's been no sound treatment to it, like if they're far away, they can't hear. So they paid for a ticket and they are not having a good experience. And they connect that to me, not your venue. They're like, that show, that Carly Harvey show, I couldn't even hear her. And so that's impacting my fans' experience with me. So I think all the reciprocal respect, right? You respect me and you give me tenderness, nurture me. I'm going to give you a great show, but I'm going to make sure everybody's happy and I'm going to respect your venue and your space. And so it becomes, again, this reciprocal energy thing. But as you can tell, that's how I am. I'm a very energy feeling person. Yeah.
At the same time, the reason I ask this question is because I wish more venues could see it as what it is. It's a win-win partnership,
Yeah.
right? You can't have a successful venue without amazing artists, and if you don't have the support the amazing artists, they can't so it's like a cycle, and if you would just pay a little bit more attention to, like, a few things, like, your audience levels are gonna go up, your performers are gonna be happier, like, so it's one of those win-win situations that I want venues to hear from artists like yourself, so thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. And just to elaborate on that a little more, I've got a big mouth. And if I have a great experience, I'm going to tell my friends and they're going to be like, hey, I want to play at your venue. If I don't have a good experience, I have a big mouth and I'm going to tell my friends. I'm like, that sucks. This green room smells like garbage juice. And like, you know, yeah, there are some where I'm like, it smells like hot garbage in here. And that's not a good experience. You want me to be like feeling nauseous before I get on stage? That's not okay. So exactly. It's win-win for us all to treat me like you're not exploiting me.
And something else I love to hear from an artist's perspective, and this is for like your advice to sort of up and coming musicians, right? How important is the team dynamic when you're building a band behind you, right? How important is it that they get along with you?
It's so important. And I learned so much, when I was younger building a band. And now I have this like amazing rotation of musicians. I can't get the same guys all the time. And when I'm on tour, like I've got a rotation out in Portland. So I have a rotation out with you where you are. And I've got, great guys up in New England. Normally it's a Dave Keller band that backs me. And even when I'm at home, like my horn players, sometimes they have other gigs, and I've just created this family of people. And I always say, like, the respect flows from the head of the company, right? If I'm the company or if I'm the captain of the ship, I'm going to steer us right. But one, people have to respect what the position is. And then also, I want everybody who works with me to have a good experience. You can't please everybody, of course, and I am a people pleaser, but, I'm very overt with my directions to the band or my hand signals. And I do it in a way that isn't like, that kind of escalates tension. It's more like we're a collective together. And if you let me be the captain of this ship, we're going to have a great time. And my music is improvisational. So sometimes I want hits somewhere or I want to rumble and hold something out and embellish it. And the rotation of musicians that work with me, like if I get a new sub or someone coming in, they're like, the first thing they say is, make sure you watch Carly, watch her hands, keep your eye on her. And it's not a bad thing. And when I go overseas, I've got a band in Italy, a band in Spain, and they all know you just have to watch me, watch Carly. Don't look anywhere else. And they respect me. And once even I work with these new people, they say like, I had such a great time working with you. And that's what I want. I want them to say, I enjoyed improvisation. I was like at the edge of my seat sometimes. I didn't know what you were going to do, but we made great music, and it was like it was okay because you were guiding it. You're a great band leader, and that is so I it's important to me to work with people who are flexible in that way and who are, I think, good-hearted people and good musicians. So it's like it's got to be good vibes, and then we end up making great music. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna do this song that way from now on, just from a new thing you discover, a happy accident, you know.
And that's what I love about the live performance piece, right? Is when you have those little surprises. And it's like, I tell people all the time, like, go to live music because you never know what you're going to get and how special and intimate it is. From an artist perspective, too, as you're performing live, how important is dynamics when you're putting on a live show?
Dynamics so important. I think when I first started, like the band is just loud, 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 and you're trying to EQ your own voice over it. And that ends up, you do harm to your own self as a vocalist, right? Because now I'm fatigued from pushing and forcing or trying to create a tone that's going to cut over all of the noise. So I think on getting so comfortable with yourself and with the venue and the sound guy and understanding your needs as a vocalist or a musician, whatever it is you need for your tone to come across. Because again, there's a brand, there's a expectation from your fans, and we should deliver it to them. And so that they're able to receive the energy, the medicine, whatever it is, and not feel like distracted by like, wow, I can't hear Carly over the band. You know, I used to be so I don't like conflict. So if I have to say like, "Hey, could you tell that I wasn't loud enough?" Like, because as a sound guy, sometimes sound guys are like, "I did sound for Janet Jackson," and you're like, "Right, she isn't here, and I have a different voice." And so it's like you don't want tension with the sound guy. You want to collaborate. And I was like, but I have to start learning to speak up for myself, but also understand the EQ that I need. So that really came into play when I was on tour in France because now we had a language barrier. So we had to get the sound right because the days I was drowned out by the band, the next day I was tired. So just EQing my voice appropriately, having the right microphone matters because it impacts the experience the fans are going to have. And so now the band can, like, you can really hear the soul of the guitar solo, especially when it comes to blues, because sometimes guys, they just got one note. But we can feel the soul of it if the drums come down, if the musicians understand when it's time to like lay back and create like a spotlight environment for that instrument. So I think we learn that as we get older and as we come more into ourselves as artists, but especially for the audience's experience, those dynamics have to be there. You know, we just can't all play loud at the same volume. Everything has its role, its yin and yang, and its ebb and flow, you know?
And it's interesting because, like, sorry, go ahead.
I said, I'm long winded. I'm sorry.
No, apologize for nothing. This is perfect. Like you were like this is an amazing interview so far because I love how much you go into detail. It's very I love it. I absolutely adore it. Because like there's a psychology behind it too, right?
Mhm.
Because like if it's at the same tone or the same level the brain actually gets tired. And so the more you sort of adjust and have those dynamics, they can see on a brain scan that people's interests continue the longer you sort of keep sort of changing. So like when you're performing, do you normally like go off of a set list or does that sometimes change depending on the vibe of the crowd?
Yeah, for some people, especially new people who haven't worked with me before, they're like, "Well, I need a set list. I need to know." And I'm like, "Okay, this is the blueprint." Sometimes we don't play anything on that list, because I'm such an energy feeling person. And you're exactly right. Like, I love a good slow ballad, like those power blues ballads or, those powerful songs. But again, the brain will shut down. You can't have too many of them. And so I'm kind of like a conduit of energy, right? And it's flowing through me and to me. And while I'm performing and talking to people, I'm also observing. Are they antsy? Are they ready for something upbeat? Should we keep it upbeat? And sometimes I ask the audience, I'm like, do you want me to give you the feels or do you want to dance and hear something funky? And some people are like, give me the feels. Or some people are like, I want to dance, make it funky, you know? So sometimes it's their actual words, but many times it's their energy, what I'm observing them and what I predict that they are desiring. And then I just flow with it in that way. So that's another important thing when you're curating a set list, right? And of course, you do a festival and you only have a 45-minute set. 45 minutes, can I really give it to them in 45 minutes? So, but I don't want to do all of my fast songs up front because then when the slow songs come, then it's like, well, like, where is it? So you kind of like, I try to create a mixture of them, but I've got a lot of mid-tempo things that are meant to be felt. And so, I kind of sandwich them in between. But, every audience is different. And so I go off script a lot.
That's what I think what I want my listeners to understand, that if you go to a Carly show, you are not gonna get the same show twice. It's gonna be different every time, and you're gonna be blown away. I guarantee it. So in terms of like the live performance piece though, right? So
Mhm.
some artists like who do you listen to in the band to help you keep time?
Whoa. I'm very bass oriented. My dad was a bassist, and I write a lot of my songs starting with the bass line. It's like, what do I want the bass to be doing? So the bassist helps me keep time. The drummer is for the pocket and for the groove and the feel. The time for me is the bass player. And it's also my center. Like, I rely on the bass note to determine what I'm singing.
That.
There's off, I'm like, listen. And that's why you'll hear on my album what I said to Mark, who Mark not only produced the album, but he did all the engineering as well. I said to Mark, some of these songs I wrote with my dad, and I want this to be a love letter to the blues, but also an honor to him. And so if I'm the star of the show, the bass is the supporting actor. So there's a lot of songs where you're like, this bass is hopping in this song. And yeah, that was intentional. I wanted it that way. And I know a lot of blues records aren't made that way. And I'm so proud of my album. I don't think it was received by fans in a really great way, by the industry, because they were like, we're used to this particular sound. And it was like, there's all the Native American stuff, and this is blues funk. And why is the bass at this level? That's not how to blues record. And I'm like, I'm pushing the envelope, but Black Native woman, am the blueprint. I'm the descendant. So I'm evolving, I'm pushing the envelope, and I'm honoring its roots at the same time. So while the industry didn't recognize it the way I might have liked it, I am so proud of it. Like when you listen to that and you hear that's Carly Harvey sound, and this new record is definitely going to be bass heavy as well. Yeah.
And I hate labels. It's one of those things where like I honestly believe to my core that there is no such thing as bad music. It's just music you prefer or someone else prefers. And so just to discard something because it's a little different, but yet pays homage to the roots and tradition, like I see you. And that's yeah, no words.
Thank you.
And then in terms of like the recording piece itself, right? So some artists prefer to like record like every piece separately. Some artists like the band to be together and sort of so when you did that recording, did you do it like as a full band recording in different booths, or did you have people do it like drums one time, bass one time, guitar one time?
We did a mixture of it, but definitely the rhythm section recorded together. We created a live experience. So even if I was singing with them, like from a booth, they could hear my voice, and that was guiding what they did. So even if I decided that's going to be my scratch vocal and I'm going to come back in and sing over it, what we got was the band so tight that they were going to do it together, at least. So the guitar, bass, and drums, and then with me, we did sometimes at the horns after the fact, so the horns would record together, but while listening to the established live band recording. And the keys were remote as well. And I have one song called Take Your Love. Now, Sean Hurley used to tour with John Mayer, and I think he still does from time to time. I got Sean Hurley. He was definitely remote, but so we had our drummer and our guitarist play the song together while listening to me like plunk it on the piano, like just to give them the feel. And then Sean comes in and like plays down these soulful like bass. Like it was so good. It was just so nice. And it like really kept it steady, and it kept the vibe and the environment for that song that I really wanted. So yeah, we did a mixture of some remote things, some live band things. And the first song you were talking about, that was completely live. We just did a couple of takes.
Sounds it. That was oh.
And to the band the concept of what I wanted. I was like, I want real dirty Delta blues, like real dirty, real dirty. And and uh and I was like, and this is when I want the drums to come in, and you're gonna wait for me to start chanting before you start getting steady. So we they kind of rehearsed it with my instruction, and then we were kind of in separate booths but doing it together, and we just did a couple of takes of it, and it was magic. Like I cried after we recorded that song, because that is how I wanted native scat to sound. And I've got to give big props to my band Kiss and Ride, which is now we barely play together anymore, but Holly Montgomery, Dave Garastos, and Andy Hamburger, with special guest guitarist of but we went to the International Blues Challenge in 2019. No, which it wasn't 2019, it was 2021. Um, yeah, I was like, I feel like we need to do this right before we do this other song. And I explained to them what I wanted. I explained the environment, and I got to record them do exactly what I asked them to do. And they all just like rose to the occasion. And so Native Scat has always come right before Mean Old Woman. It's almost like it's my prayer song and my ancestors being like, now you calm your spirit and get grounded before you sock it to them. So
I love that combo.
yeah. Yeah, so I was like, so on the album, it's got to be in this order. And that's how we perform the song. And we did that in France, we did that in Belgium and Czech Republic and Italy and Spain. And yeah, that piece is my heart. And the Kiss and Ride Band really brought it to life, and it allowed me to understand even better how to explain when it was time to go into the studio.
I love everything about that. Looking back at sort of your life on stage, can you pinpoint an experience where you got on stage and you finished your set and you thought, this was perfect?
Ooh, there's many of them, but I will say the most recent was see this lecture I do, right, where I go teaching and I've got slides and a storytelling, a little bit of performance, education. I decided I was going to put together a show that was the presentation of this music, not me storytelling, not me educating. And that was this past February. We did it in DC at the Atlas Performing Arts Center. And it was called The Chrysalis Blues at the Crossroads. And I called it The Chrysalis because my native name is Butterfly Dancer. So I think that butterflies, you know, as a metaphor, I think myself personally, I've experienced I get my wings and sometimes I go back into the chrysalis, and it's really, really painful and it's transformative. And then the most beautiful things come out of it. And I think the intersection and the sacred overlap of African experience, the African American experience, and the Native American music and ceremony creating blues in the chrysalis, that was a lot of pain that transformed into something beautiful, powerful, medicine, resonant. And I worked with my management team. I mean, oh my goodness, I have to say thank you to LA Carpenter. She got me these beautiful little slides with my logo on it with butterflies fluttering. And we had like stage lighting, like this time it's going to be a spotlight. And we explored native lullabies and music, and then we went into like spirituals and field hollers, and then we evolved as blues evolves with the Great Migration, and then we got into blues jazz, blues funk. We sang even Marvin Gaye, like we sang Etta James, and it was this beautiful like arc. And so instead of like educating and showing slides, we just evolved the music. We even did some gospel because I believe that gospel and blues are sisters. A lot of people argue like which one came first. And I'm like, well, before there were instruments, there were field hollers and work songs. And then we got instruments, and because spirituals were coded with religion so that it could be a route to escape, that evolved into now your spiritual religious expression. Whereas blues could be secular, like my baby's coming through the back door, get my mojo working, right? Um, and it became like a political, like self-expression of joy. Joy is resistance, right? And so gospel and blues have the same mother and father, right? Work songs, field hollers, and spirituals, and then they are the sisters. That's how I think of it. Anyway, that's so after we did this performance, after we sang the last note, I mean, there was a blizzard on this day, and so a lot of people did not come. We lost all of our day of sales, and some people who bought tickets didn't come. The band was amazing, and we had a powwow dancer on stage with us. So it was the intersection too. Like, so a lot of my songs that have that steady beat. So she did fancy dancing, she did hoop dancing. I mean, it was incredible. And I was like, I need to tour this show because it was so beautiful and not just impactful for the audience that was there, but for me. Like, oh man, I was like, this is me doing what I'm supposed to do. And I just felt it. It was so validated. And I felt my ancestors like hold me because I was sad. I was like, I was embarrassed, like that we didn't have the ticket sales that we should have had. But when the audience responded, especially in the Q&A section afterwards, like I knew that the ears it was supposed to fall on, it fell on, and the energy the people it was supposed to touch, it did. Yeah. Sorry, that's a very long story, but you have to know all the parts to feel the intensity of how precious it was to me. It was just beautiful. And that was like the most fulfilling moments, I would say, of my entire career.
And from my perspective, there is no such thing as too long of an answer in long form interviews. Don't apologize for anything, Carly, because that was a beautiful story. And just like I envisioned myself, as I'm sorry that I wasn't able to like see that because what a beautiful way to tell a beautiful story from such a unique perspective. Like, how did you come up with that idea in the first place?
Well, the Performing Arts Center has a festival called Intersections. And I was like, my career lives at the intersection always. I'm blues and jazz, blues and funk, blues and soul, and am a multiracial person, and I embrace all sides of me. So like I'm living in this Afro-Indigenous like space where I like honor my heritage, and it's both. It's not one or the other. So I have so much duality that exists and is okay. And I was like, why not present that in me as an artist? It will help people understand me more as an artist. And also, it's my opportunity to just perform instead of educate, which I love educating, right? And so, this festival called Intersections, you apply. And so in the application, they had all these questions, and I like kind of conceptualized it while I was completing my application. I knew I had like the kind of idea in my head, but the way they asked questions about, like, well, why would you incorporate dance here? Or what type of multiple disciplines are you talking about? But this was a multidisciplinary, interactive performance. And yeah, so it kind of came about because I was applying for the Intersections Festival, but there was a little seed there already. But um, yeah, that's how it came about.
It circles back to the muse, right? You never know when they're gonna like it's like that's an amazing experience. I'm so glad you had that experience.
Yeah.
So something you sort of touched on was validation.
Mm,
I want to bring this up because this is something that I hear in audiences because I'm very attuned to the conversations that are around me. And
mhm.
there's a lot of hesitancy from people who are in the audience to reach out to the artist afterwards and let them know how much they enjoyed the show. From an artist's perspective, why is it important for your fans to let you know how much they enjoyed their time with
Well, I can't speak for other people's experiences, but for mine, I'll say that because I'm pushing the envelope in my industry, I get overlooked a lot. And this industry is not for the faint of heart. Like when people are like, "Oh, you're so strong, you're so resilient." That's survival. I have to because I know I must do what I'm meant to do. I must do my purpose, but sometimes those things hurt and you have to really feel those things. When I was in Portland and I played the Waterfront Blues Festival. And some people had heard of me, some people had not. And when we went in the back and I'm signing autographs and things, this woman came to me and said, that was the most blues I heard all day. That meant so much to me. And I think that like she didn't realize how valuable it was because I have festivals who are like, I don't know how to package you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm doing blues. But it's like, it's so pushed on the envelope. And then there's this like other cultural aspect. And because people really want the numbers and they want butts and seats. So it's like, how do we package you? How do we brand you? And I'm like, this is the brand, me being myself. So yeah, someone telling me they heard me, they felt me, they see me, they understand me as an artist means so much, especially after you've had to prove yourself and they throw you a bone, but probably lowball you and don't pay you what you're worth. The value I get is knowing that the audience understood it, that the audience got it, that they felt it, that they received medicine and they gave back to me. That is, and the very same woman said, from now on, if somebody asks me if I want to hear blues, I'm going to tell them I think of Carly Harvey when I want to hear blues. That, like, I wish I got her name. I mean, we have those days, like, where those words make a big difference in our day, in our performance, and how we feel when we're on the plane going home. It matters.
And then in terms of like the support that you get from your fans and like the things that you hear and sort of like your interactions with them, what is it about the fan base that fills your
Uh, It's that, wow, it's like so many different types of people. It's like so many different ethnic groups, age groups, like, so many people from different walks of life. I mean, and, fans in Italy, in Germany, in France, and all over the United States. And they're just, because I love connection and I love like reciprocal energy. So I'm going to shout out to Carly's Angels. I mean, just they keep me going, but also I learned so much from them. I learned so much from them, from people telling me their experiences, or how something I sang or touched them, touched their hearts, or reminded them of an experience they had, or one of their favorite family members. All that stuff is just so valuable. And, in return, like, them like giving me that beautiful positive energy. Again, it becomes like this reciprocal thing. Like, I want to give to them, and I know that I carry sacred medicine in my voice. Again, I'm not an entertainer. If it's entertaining, great. That sprinkles on cake. But first and foremost, I'm a healer. I'm a conduit of energy. I'm a conduit of source for the elevation of the collective. And that sounds like so hippy dippy, but we know that, like, you listen to certain sound frequencies, and sound frequencies, sound waves can shift energy, and it can elevate a whole room. A frequency can change and shift the energy in a whole room. So we know that. And I think for a long time, I was singing in a way where I was like trying to prove to people I was worth hiring. And now I'm like, I have medicine to give. So let me do my job. I have love to give. I have love to share. I have a story to share, you know, and I just want to do what I love doing. And the fans are so receptive. And it's like the more people I'm able to get in front of, the more it's like authenticity, and it's the appreciation for authenticity. So it's not the same as an Usher concert. They're there to be entertained, but, I appreciate the authenticity of experience and genuine desire for connection.
and I love the fact that and I'll throw this out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to say 100% equivocally, just based on the conversation we've had today, the beautiful part about music in your realm is that you welcome everybody.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what religion, it doesn't matter what race, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Come and enjoy the music. We will welcome you with open arms.
Yeah. Yes.
How important is that message of love and acceptance today?
I mean, we need it. Music is the universal language. Like, and it's because of sound frequencies. You could not know the language someone's speaking. It's like the tone of their voice, that thing that gives you chills up your arms or up your neck. It's the way the story is told, the energy that is put forth, and it just moves us. And it like sometimes if you're sad, you need to hear a sad song because you need a resonant frequency. And sometimes you're sad or depressed and you need something to lift you out of it. And music will do that. And it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, like these like ridiculous small things that we could sit around and disagree on. Like music is going to connect everybody, you know.
I think I'll throw out there too, like, I'm not sure if you know, like, just how important music is to the disability community.
Mm.
So a lot of us who are neurodivergent, we have a really hard time expressing emotions in the moment. There's a song for that. So if I want to tell somebody that I love what I'm going through and I don't have the words, I can send them a song and they get to feel exactly what I'm feeling. They get to understand and know what I'm going through because somebody has gone through that story. And when I can't communicate that, I can provide a song in its place. And it has opened the doors for so many more authentic conversations in times of need that I can't even imagine what the world would be like without music.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And we haven't talked about it, but I'm also neurodivergent. I have dyscalculia, which impacts the way I learn music. And also, I have, like, inattentive ADHD, low dopamine ADHD at that. And I don't know about my ex husband. I won't go, keyboard diagnosing anybody, but I remember at the end of our marriage, there were words he wanted to say to me and he couldn't say them. And he sent me a Chris Stapleton song called I Was Wrong. And I could not hear it because I was angry. I was angry and I was hurt. So there was this wall up. And the moment I did some healing. I went and listened to that song and I was like, he couldn't say those words for some reason. He sent me this song and I didn't get it, which is sad, but that's a beautiful way to communicate with people, especially as like two musicians. So I guess I didn't really take that in. I'm glad you said that to me because yes, music is my medicine. That's how I get to learn to express myself when I don't have the words or when I'm like, because I hate conflict, but I'm not being passive aggressive in a song. Some of the lyrics on that's where I told the story because unless you're my close friend or my family member, you don't know the story of what I've been through, but I can sing it. I can put it down on paper and I know somebody else has that story. But yeah, thank you for putting that into perspective for me because I didn't consider it that way. I hadn't
Yeah,
considered. I mean, I did, but I guess I didn't realize how, if that makes sense.
it totally does. And we've been at this for well over an hour now. So
Oh,
you're good. No, yeah, Boo is right because this is so much fun. Where can people go to find more information about you and your music?
they can go to carlyharvey.com. They can follow me on all the socials at Carly Harvey Music. And that's Carly with a C, no I, and no E, just like Carly Simon. Yeah, Carly Harvey Music. And I'm writing a new album, or I'm editing and cleaning up some songs. So the new album is being written. So we're hoping for an early 2027 release. And so please be on the lookout for that. Look out and see if I'm in a city near you. I will be near you, Sean, in July. At the end of July, I'll be at the Going Rogue Festival. So I'll be in like South Oregon. And then doing something else at a winery, but it's on my website, carlyharvey.com.
I will check it out and if I have, yeah, I will be there. I'll find a way.
Hey, I'm gonna
And
try Portland too because I got family in the PDX area. So I'll try and make sure I plan a show in PDX as well.
he's so amazing.
Yeah.
And will the last question I'll ask is kind of like going back to sort of like the conversation. had a little bit about the up and coming musicians. What advice would you give to the musicians that are starting out or just getting their feet in the music? Because sometimes, times can be hard. Music is a hard business. But what would you say to those aspiring musicians that would help them not give up?
Enjoy the journey. If and it's not like no one said that to me. I was just like, yeah, 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 ambition. Yeah, 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 goals. If I can get this award, then I can get in front of this audience. And then this booking agency will blah blah. And I thought just stepping on these goals and I was missing the journey, the experiences, the people. I can look back and appreciate them, but I was gliding past them so I could get to goals. Enjoy the journey and live in your truth as an artist and never sell that out.
I can't thank you enough. Mad props to the album that you have. I'm so excited to see what's next. Keep doing you. And I will end the podcast the way I always end the podcast. Folks, be kind. We all live on the same planet. We breathe the same air. And this world would just be a little bit of a better place if we treated everybody with a little kindness and respect. Carly, thank you.
Thank you.